You're listening to The Straight Line on MRN.com, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Hi, everybody. Welcome in to MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Parts. Ralph Shaheen and an empty chair.
Doug Herbert.
Yeah, whatever. My buddy Doug Herbert smoked the tires this time. So what happened there, Captain Herbert?
Well, we're flying an airplane around that, we've had a little bit of trouble with today. So what that means is the airplane stays on the ground, because the difference between an airplane and a car is, with an airplane, you can't pull over to the side of the road and get work done. I've never seen one get stuck up there in the air yet. So we're going to make sure this airplane is ready to go before we take off. And so, unfortunately, it's kept me from being in the studio there, which I was really looking forward to being in the studio because of our guest, Ed the Ace McCulloch, my old crew chief and friend. Happy to have him on the show, as well as Matt Smith. So great show and story today, and I'm looking forward to talking to those guys, even if I'm not in the studio with you, Ralph.
Yeah, well, we couldn't keep you away from talking about your favorite form of motorsport, of course, and we're glad you're on the ground and safe. That is the most important thing of all. So, let's talk a little bit about Ed the Ace, because he's going to be coming up here a little later on in the show. They announced the pairings for the unfinished business, and he's going to go up against Snake in the first round. What'd you think of that?
You know what? Looking at the matchups, I think that's a great matchup, right? They've got Shirley racing Garlitz, which, that's a perfect match that there is, really. And then you've got Terry Vance racing Warren Johnson, and you've got the Snake racing McCulloch. They've got good matchups. I think they picked the right people to match up first round.
Yeah, and then you got Kenny Bernstein and Joe Amato as well. So, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you see going through in the first round?
Oh boy! Now you are putting me on the spot. But Shirley and Garlitz. They're both pretty cagey, and Shirley's going to deep stage because that's what Shirley does. Garlitz, he's a pro. He's not going to probably get thrown out by that. The issue is, and what I really don't know is, which of these racers have went out and rented a Toyota Camry or driven a Toyota Camry, or maybe they drive one on a day-to-day basis. Whoever has the most comfort level in the car and maybe a little bit of practice, is probably going to have the biggest advantage, in my opinion. The cars, they don't react like a top fuel dragster or a pro stock car or a funny car. So whoever is the most comfortable in the car and has the best feel for it is definitely got the biggest advantage. So I don't know who that is.
So you and I were thinking the same way, because probably every one of them has rented one from a rental car agency this week and has gone to their local strip and has been working this thing out. So the one I'm going to think, probably because of his nickname, has done that for sure, the Professor, Warren Johnson.
Yeah, right. I would think that he has, but then he's going up against Terry Vance, and Terry Vance is no slouch. Trust me, Terry Vance, he knows how to win, and he does not like to lose. Although he's not a sore loser. He's a great guy, but I'm guessing he did the same thing. And like you said, all these people, none of them want to get beat. It doesn't matter whether they're racing, slot cars or bar stools or whatever. They don't want to get beat. So I'm guessing each and every one of them has probably went out, rented a Toyota Camry or driven a Toyota Camry somewhere, whether it's one that they own or their friend owns or whatever. They're going to get a little bit of time behind the wheel to make sure that they're ready to go up there. And how could you not be ready? It doesn't matter who you are. When you pull up next to Joe Amato or you pull up next to Big Daddy or Shirley or whatever, you need to be ready. That's just all there is to it.
Okay, so we're going to talk slot cars a little later, and I have raced a bar stool. That's a story for another time. I really have, and I've got the scar. I've got the scar to prove it.
There's bar stool races at Brainerd Raceway every summer.
I did it in Arizona during the old Slick 50 Sprint Car World Series, but that's another story. You're right about these guys in that none of them want to lose. That's why they're the legends, right? That's why they're all here, because they are the greatest drag racers of all time included in this thing. So none of them are going to want to lose, period. And they're certainly not going to want to lose against somebody who, in a lot of these matchups, was a rival in the day.
Well, that's right. And, obviously the number one matchup, Shirley and Garlitz, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, really, But, I mean, then you got Bernstein and Amato. I mean, I've raced both of those guys plenty of times and seen them race each other both of the times, or plenty of times. When it comes down to winning races, when it comes down to winning a championship, whatever, I mean, those guys are as tough as it comes. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure they're all, even though they're not racing each other anymore, they still got plenty of competitiveness with them. And the good thing is they'll be down at Gainesville. They'll have some free time. They'll be able to talk to the fans, sign autographs, and get a chance to talk to those guys and Shirley and everybody. I mean, Shirley's always pretty outgoing. She's always likes to talk to fans. So I think in general, it'll be fun for the drivers and the racers. It'll be fun for the fans to be able to interact with them and have some time to talk to them when they're not bogged down by the pressures of racing.
We've seen a lot of different things over the years in racing where they've tried to bring back the greats and the legends of different genres of the sport and get them back out on the track, if you will, and do something competitive. And sometimes it kind of falls flat. In fact, I want to talk to the Ace a little later about when he did the old Fastmasters deal up at Indianapolis Raceway Park. You probably remember that in the Jaguars.
Yeah, driving those Jaguars.
Yeah, that
those
didn't really
Jaguars.
work out right. But, and then I remember at Charlotte years ago, remember they brought the old convertible cup cars out and they tried to get guys on the quarter mile and they just tore up a lot of stuff. I think this one, even though, they're not burning nitro and they're not going to go flying down the quarter mile, but we're actually going to get to see them really race. And there's going to be some gamesmanship involved and that sort of thing. And I think it's going to be fun for the fans. The question I think becomes is, do we make this a regular once-a-year thing, or is it just because it's Gainesville's 50th that's okay?
Well, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. They're racing equal cars. I mean, how much more equal could they be than a production line car? I mean, I'm kind of like you. I would like to see it happen more often, but how often are you going to be able to get this group of people together to go do this? It's probably not a everyday thing. So, I mean, if they could make it happen, I would like to see them racing those factory hot rod deals, the Copo car and the Hellcat or whatever it is thing. And I mean, the Mustang, that Shelby deal. I mean, I think that would be really cool, right? To see them actually racing cars against each other that are race cars. But now, on the other hand, just like you said, to see who is the best and able to adapt to different things, putting them behind the wheel of cars that are pretty much identical, that's, there you go. I mean, that's reaction time and being able to stage properly and keeping the thing going straight, which is probably not going to be a problem for any of them. But, it'll still be interesting. There's no doubt about it.
All right. Well, I like it. And the other thing we got to talk about is bikes. Pro Stock Bikes. Their season's getting ready to kick off too. And we're going to have Matt Smith with us as soon as we come back. So Doug, you stay on the phone. Fans, you stay right there. We'll be right back.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
O'Reilly. At O'Reilly Auto Parts, we promise you'll get better parts, better prices every day. Our stores are stocked with high-quality parts and accessories at guaranteed low prices, and our friendly, well-trained professionals are standing by to help. So stop in and see how 5 simple words drive everything we do. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Winged Nation, your go-to for winged sprint car talk, news, and information. Find all the episodes of Winged Nation on your favorite podcast platforms. Steve Post, Ashley Stremme, and Aaron Evernhead go in-depth with the race winners and personalities from dirt tracks all across America. Like Winged Nation on Facebook. Follow Winged Nation on Twitter. You'll get stories and information and live broadcasts of Winged Nation shows from some of the top dirt tracks in the nation. Winged Nation, your home for winged sprint cars.
Welcome back to MRN's The Straight Line. All of our show presented by the folks at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Shaheen and Doug Herbert is trapped down in Florida. Sounds like a rough time, right? And joining us on the line now, Matt Smith, getting ready to go after the crown again in the NHRA Pro Stock Championship. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Buddy, we are doing good. As you get ready for this 2019 campaign, what are any of the new things that we can expect out of your organization?
Well, we built 3 more new motors, just like what I had at Pomona at the end of the year. And also we put the new bodywork on Angie's bike, which is a clone to mine now. Plus we got Scotty Polachek as a third rider for our team coming on board. We'll have the same bodywork and motors that I had. So we should have a 3-bike team that's pretty hateful.
Wow, Matt, that is awesome. I didn't know about the third bike with Polachek. It seems like last year, towards the middle and the end of the year, you guys just came on. What can you attribute your just killer performance coming into the stretch when you needed it last year?
Well, in the pro stock era, that deal, to have parts made, it's a process, and when you get new parts made, it's 3, 4, 5 months, waiting list to get stuff made. So when we put stuff in to be made in March last year, we got some in June and July, which showed promise for us. We started running better mid-season. And then at mid-season, I go, well, I need to get some more parts go a little bit farther and see if it helps us even more. And I got new parts right before the Vegas race, and that was pretty awesome, the new stuff that we got for that motor. So that's kind of what we've done all winter, just getting new parts ready, just like we had for the last motor at the end of the year. And I think we'll have 3 bikes that are really, really fast this year.
Matt, you talked about the body work and how much of a difference it made on your program, and you're going to have it on your other 2 team bikes this year. I know you don't want to give away all the secrets. I don't expect you to, but what is it about the body work? Is it downforce? Is it aero slickness? And how much is still left to be found, do you feel, in the body that you have now?
Well, the body's definitely better than what we had before. The biggest thing is, as a rider, top fuel, funny car, pro stock car, the driver does not get outside the bodywork. So if they have to steer the cars or whatever, they do it with the steering wheel. We have to lean off the bike, and when we do that, to steer it, so when we do that, our body goes outside the bodywork and creates turbulence. And the biggest thing what I've seen with the new bodywork is if you have to correct the motorcycle to get out behind the bodywork, this new bodywork picks back up quicker than the old bodywork. So it just recovers faster. I don't know. I mean, it's only probably we've back-to-back them, and it's only like half to 3/4 mile an hour faster, on a perfectly straight pass. But if you are hanging off the bike, which 9 out of 10 runs you have to move around on the bike, it's definitely, better. But the biggest thing is we found about 12 horsepower in mid-season last year, and that's what I can contribute most of our success to last year.
Wow. And everybody thinks, a mile per hour or whatever, but on a pro stock bike, a mile per hour, there's a lot of difference between 199 miles an hour and 200 miles an hour, right? I mean, it's like night and day.
Yeah, I mean, we've been at this 200 mile an hour barrier for how long? I think Eddie ran it at 199 like 6 years ago in Florida, and it just got broke last year. And then we upped it even more and went 201.22, at Pomona. So just to get over that little 199 mile an hour, it's A, aero, but 2, it's just horsepower. And what we've seen is about every 5 horsepower we can gain picks you up about 1 mile an hour on the racetrack.
Do you think this is going to be a year where we're going to see a lot of people pushing that 200 number further out, or is it still going to be difficult to get past where you got at the end of this last season?
I think you'll see 3 or 4 more people do it this year. I'm really hoping that Angie does it and Scotty does it on our team, because they're going to have the same aero package and engine package that I have. I really think that, that maybe, Hector can do it and maybe Andrew Hines can do it. I think those are kind of the only ones that really has a good shot at doing it this year. So I think if all of them do it, plus, me and Eddie and Junior that's already done it before can do it, we could have, 4, 5, 6 people going over 200 at one race. And I think that speaks volumes for our sport and our class.
Yeah, that's exciting for the class. Hey, Matt, as multi-time champion and defending champion, when you go to Thanksgiving dinner and you've got your dad there, I don't even know how many championships he's won, it's dozens. What do you guys talk about at Thanksgiving dinner? Is there talking about, like, the dressing, or you talk about racing?
I mean, we talk about racing some, but, it's mainly, when we get together for, which my dad, I live right next to my dad, so I see my mom and dad, at least 2, 3, 4 times a week. It's just one of them things. I mean, we're always talking about racing, and he switched to the turbo stuff this year, and I think he's going to be really good this year. So, we did it in 2013. We won the championship together, which was the first time in history in HRA, and we almost did it last year. He only lost by 7 points, so we were close to doing it again. So maybe we can put it back together and do it again this year in 2019.
Man, Herbert, I wish you wouldn't have brought up Thanksgiving. Now I'm getting hungry. Hey,
I'm always hungry.
I know. Hey, Matt, I've talked to a lot of motorcycle racers in different forms, and the road racing guys will tell you a lot about how the flat track guys, the same thing. On a mile, when they get into the draft, when they move out behind away from the guy in front of them, the sound changes. It sonically gets different. How is it different for you when you're behind the windscreen and then when you come out of it?
Well, when you come out from behind the windscreen, it's just a lot of wind noise. I mean, imagine you going down the highway and you roll your window down at 60 or 70 mile an hour. You stick your arm out the window, your arm goes back. I mean, and then you have to use the force to get it back, straight again. Imagine doing that at 200 mile an hour. If you come out from behind that windscreen, you got a big helmet on. And when you do that, it tries to rip your head off the bike. And that's what we have to deal with a lot is, it definitely gets louder, but it's just the wind speed that really creates, problems and havoc with a rider on a motorcycle.
Matt, we've talked about a lot of racing, but I want to thank you for you and your family. I've been friends, for such a long time. I want to thank you for, you ran the brakes charity on your motorcycle the whole 1 year. You've always come to our events and support us, and I want to thank you and your dad and Angie and your mom and for all that you guys have done and for your friendship for me and my family for so many years. You guys have just been great friends and are like family to me, and I appreciate it so much.
Hey, we thank you for doing what you've done for, all the kids and everything. I mean, my son went through your program, and with Terry Vance, just donating, the big check to you at Pomona. We was out there, and I was really proud of that. And our current sponsor now, Denso, I think they're getting involved with the brakes program. So, I mean, it's a very, very good thing, and I'm really excited to have been part of it, still part of it. And, anytime you need something, just holler. We'll be glad to come out.
Well, man, I know you got to be getting ready for that first race of the season to get underway. It's a little bit longer for you guys to sit on the sidelines and wait. As you size up the competition this year, what are you expecting?
I'm expecting some people to come out and try to run as good as we did at the end of the year. But, I really feel like that the performance we showed at the end of last year, that I think everybody knows that I think we're the team to beat this year. We didn't lose ground. I think we gained some more ground. And if some of these guys and girls didn't pick up stuff over the winter, they're going to have a hard time with it this year. So I know the Harley team, they got all the money behind them. They'll be fast, but I think we'll still be good. I think we'll be pretty fast this year. So don't bet against us.
We would never do that. We look forward to watching your race this year and getting you back on the show soon. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to y'all later on.
Okay, buddy. We'll be right back. More Straight Line after this.
O'Reilly. When it comes to safety, nothing is more important than your vehicle's brakes. If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing or grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best and Brake Best Select at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brakes from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You hear it every week.
Just want to thank the whole team and all our guys back in Denver, everybody who supports this team.
They're the unsung heroes of NASCAR, and their life is the pits. This is Rocco Williams, and for 10 years, I've jacked up some of the biggest names in auto racing, and now I'm jacked to bring it all down to street level and acquaint you with the guys behind the wall and back at the shop. Join me on MRN Crew Call, presented by Money Lion, every Wednesday on MRN.com, iTunes, or wherever podcasts are found.
Hey, race fans, it's Ralph Shaheen, and like you, I have a huge passion for racing. With the most in-depth features on racers, series, and events, no one covers racing better than America's original motorsports publication, Speed Sport. Get your subscription to Speed Sport magazine today at speedsport.com. Back here on MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Sheen, Doug Herbert with you, and we're joined by one of the legends of NHRA drag racing, Ed the Ace McCulloch. Ed, great to have you with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just great. Glad to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Of course, listen, Doug and I always would love to chat with you, but we have something really exciting to talk about today, and that, of course, is unfinished business. You're going to be a part of that, the 8 drivers participating in it, and in round 1, you're going up against the Snake. The Snake and the Ace again. Man, I can't wait to see it. How excited are you for it?
Well, I mean, the crap has already started. I got an email or a video from Snake putting shit on me. Excuse my language, but putting stuff on me, and I had to answer that, and so we're already into it. Too bad it's all in fun. It's all in fun, and it's going to be a great time.
Too bad it's not in a Nitro Funny Car. But the thing Ralph and I were talking about earlier, Ace, was have you or do you think any of the other people here in the unfinished business deal have went out and rented a Toyota Camry so they can get a little bit of practice in?
Well, I'm sure that's happened, and I didn't know until just a couple of days ago who all of the final people were that were going to be in it. And the first time as soon as I found out that WJ was going to be in it, I said, whoa, stop. I mean, that's the only guy that in this group that would know what to do to one of these stock, Toyotas. So I said, you keep him away from his car. That's got to be the first thing to happen. And but yeah, as far as a rental car, yes, I'm sure it's happening.
So this thing is called unfinished business. Do you have any unfinished business with any of these drivers?
Well, obviously, I've raced against, Snake and Bernstein. My brief stint in Top Fuel, early and late. I don't think in the funny car, I may have run Shirley a little bit, but not very much. I don't ever recall racing Garlic. So those guys, it'd be good. Obviously, I got to get by first round of Perdome, but it would be good to go on and, take those guys, the rest of them out. It would, it's certainly, there's a lot of hype in this, and there's the downside of this is it's all reaction time. I'm assuming that all of these cars are going to run about the same. So it's going to come down to reaction time, and the mechanical ability to be able to do anything to make my car run any better than anybody else's, that's completely gone. So it's down to just, reaction time. How do you drive this kind of car? And, those kind of things. That just comes with practice.
Well, Ed, with number 19 on the NHRA all-time list and with 22 NHRA event wins, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be able to figure that out pretty easily. Not to mention being a crew chief for I don't even know how many other wins. I remember one really well in 2004 when you were my crew chief.
That was a great
you've won
win.
a lot of races.
Not to get off base, but that I tell that story with when I was with you, Doug, that there's not very many guys that have flat out run Alan Johnson, and we flat out ran him that day.
We had Alan Johnson. That was so great, though. Alan Johnson's chin hit the ground. I remember watching on the TV show. He was like, wow, those guys just whipped me. I mean, that was
exactly
an awesome win.
That was great, yeah.
Ace, you've been a part of things like this unfinished business thing in the past. I remember you competed in the Fast Masters series and the Jaguars, the XJ220s. And that was one that series almost didn't really come across the way it could have because the cars on that racetrack just didn't really work out too well. But what do you remember about that experience?
That was a great experience. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Bob Bondurant's school. I mean, I'd never driven anything like that previously to that. And I went to Bondurant's and I spent 2 weeks over there. And so, I mean, when I came out of there, obviously, I mean, it's certainly not the experience that the guys that I was racing against who were, that was their livelihood. They'd done it all their life. But I was familiar enough, with what to do and going out there and practicing. And, I mean, it was sort of funny. I mean, when we had the media get together and everything, I mean, they were all, laying crap on me about, okay, Ace, what are you going to do when you go into turn one? Put the chutes out? And, but it was all in fun and we had a good time, but it was great to go out and smoke those guys off in that first event.
Hey, Ed, with all your wins as a driver and obviously as a crew chief too, but at Indy and Gainesville and with, Revolution car and the Miller car, McDonald's car, all of the different things, tell us a little bit about maybe some of your favorite days at the racetrack and some of your most competitive people that you raced against, your favorite race cars, stuff like that.
Well, it goes back, people ask all the time, having won in Indy, the U.S. Nationals, 6 times, what was my favorite win? Obviously, in 1971 was my first national event win ever, and it happened to be Indy. So that was, I thought at the time, we won the U.S. Nationals. I mean, I'm set for life. I mean, financially, I mean, everything, here we are, we're on the top of the pile. It doesn't get any better than this. I think we won about $6,000. So we certainly weren't set financially by any means. I mean, enough to get to the next race. But, that was very memorable, that win. The next thing was we won Pomona, the Winter Nationals, in 1972. At the end of the Winter Nationals in '72, Art Whipple and I, we parted companies. I mean, it was good terms. There was no, there was not a big battle there. But Art was a brilliant guy. I mean, to this day, we're really good friends. I see him. We go to lunch a lot. But through the years, we've always been very good friends. Art's a really, really knowledgeable, smart guy. And he pretty much, he was the brains probably behind, the Whipple and McCulloch car. So when he left, the word ran through the pit, well, McCulloch will never make it on his own without Whipple. So you can write them off. Well, we had won Pomona as partners, Whipple and McCulloch car, and that was the first race for the Revolution with Revell.
Huh.
I went on to Gainesville which was the next race on the list after that, and I won Gainesville by myself. And then I went on to Columbus, the Spring Nationals, and won the Spring Nationals. But the phone call from Gator Nationals in 1972 to Whipple to let him know that who had won was a very gratifying phone call. So, those early years are very, very memorable. Went along. Early 70s, was really successful, won a lot of races. Sponsorships started getting hard to come by. Costs were going up and everything. By the late 70s, I mean, I couldn't afford to continue on without sponsorship and help. So in 79, I stepped out. I did not race in 79. And in 1980, Ed Pink called me, and he was running the Super Shops car, and he asked me if I would drive Super Shops car. And so I consented to that, and went with them, and we ran, and I went back to Indy and won Indy again in 1980. The Super Shops car was it was a 1-year deal. After that, they decided to go, do other things. Then I got hooked up with Larry Miner in 83. We started running in 84, and we had the Miller deal of Miller cars, and teamed up with Gary Beck, and then later on with Dick LaHaye. Had a really very, very close relationship with LaHaye. Went on through that. Ran that Fastmasters deal in 1992. Well, in 92, we got the McDonald's deal with Larry Miner, and I switched back to Top Fuel. So I went from the funny car to Top Fuel in 1990 or 92, and then at the end of 93, Miner and I parted ways, and I really didn't have a lot going, and my friendship with Dick LaHaye sort of blossomed. He called me up. When he was with Coletta, and he said, "Hey," he says, "Scott and Connie will not stay after the races and test, and I want to test." He said, "Would you consider coming in and helping us during the weekend, and then staying over on Mondays and Tuesdays and driving both cars testing?" And so I did that, and it was good. It was fun. We had a good time. And a couple of months later, LaHaye asked me, says, so there was some ruffles with some of the other people, and he said, "I want you to run Connie's car." And so I told him, I said, it's been a long time since I've been hands-on, just running the car by myself. He says, "I'll help you. I won't let you, get too far off base." And LaHaye helped me, with Connie's car and get started there. And that turned me from a driver into a crew chief. And, the rest is, sort of history. I went on, worked with Doug for a year. I was with Perdome for, several years. And then I was with Doug, and then went on to Schumacher's and was with Caps. And, I don't know that I wouldn't probably still be doing it, but at the time, I retired at the end of 2010. My wife, Linda, had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2004, and it was to the point that, there was more and more care needed there. So at the end of 2010, I stepped away, and the rest is sort of history.
Ace, I got time for one more question with you, and I couldn't build a model to save my life when I was a kid, but I got to tell you, I always thought the Revolution car was one of the coolest out there, and that era of funny car is by far my favorite, probably because it's what I grew up with. How did that we've all heard the story of how the Hot Wheels thing came together for Snake and Mongoose. How did the Revolution deal come together with Revell and you?
It's sort of an interesting story, a bit of an interesting story. in the early days, I mean, obviously M&H tire was the tire, to run. Later on, Goodyear got involved in it, and so it was sort of Goodyear and M&H. Well, in the early 70s, Firestone stepped in. Well, Whipple and I were actually at Pomona. It had to have been 1970, and we sort of got hooked up with Firestone, and we ran Firestone tires. I mean, they shook. I mean, they'd shake your brains out. But if you could get, if you could get down there, they'd run pretty good. So anyway, we tested a lot with Firestone. They worked really hard. Got to be really, good friends and tight with the engineers and in Akron and all of that. But to cut to the chase here, I mean, finally I said, hey, listen. You pay all your IndyCar guys, personal service contracts, whatever, to run your tires. I said, why can't we get paid, to run the tires like you pay these other people? They say, well, we're in the midst of cutting that out. Now, they did pay us extremely well tire testing. That was a given. But anyway, they went to their PR people, and they said, here's what we'll do. We'll put Jim Cook, who was their PR person for Firestone, and he handled Al Unser and Andretti. He handled all of the guys, all of the, IndyCar guys. And Cook went in, and he put a deal together with Revell and Castrol Oil. And that's how that all came together, and that was the first major sponsorship, that we ever had. But it was put together, through our association with Firestone and their PR people, and we were the first guys. We were the first guys to get a contract to get paid from Revell. Afterwards, almost everybody out there had a Revell deal, but most of those deals were they built a model, Revell would produce the model, and they would get a royalty off of the model, but they were not getting paid a contract, like we were.
That's amazing. What a story.
Wow.
And a great looking car. And I got to tell you, I cannot wait to see the Ace and the Snake go heads up in round one. Ed, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We're all really excited looking towards the Gators.
Very good. Looking forward to seeing you guys down there, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
That it is. Ed, the Ace McCulloch, great to have you on the show. Folks, stay with us. We're coming right back with more of The Straight Line.
Improve visibility in your vehicle when you replace your worn wiper blades with a pair of Trico Titan wiper blades. Plus, you'll get a $15 O'Reilly gift card. Don't risk your safety because of poor visibility. Get premium blades at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Check out MRN.com for a new podcast series called The Tough Trucks of NASCAR. 25 years and still trucking. We'll take you back to some great races.
Benson to the bottom of the racetrack. This is the race for the lead and the win at Michigan.
And some wild moments.
One truck is in the air. Matt Crafton upside down.
And we'll let you hear the stories behind them.
He was too bullheaded to let me pass him, and I was too bullheaded to let him have it.
Download the show for free on iTunes and at MRN.com.
ISM Raceway got some major upgrades. NASCAR fans, come and see what all the buzz.
You have a racetrack that's created an unbelievable challenge roll in this restart.
Bumping.
The jack up. He catches the 38. The 38 spin.
And cheering is about.
Kyle Busch is going to win in the desert.
Mark your calendar for the Ticket Guardian 500, March 8th through 10th. Get the best remaining tickets now at ismraceway.com.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Ready to go here with our final segment, which of course means red light, green light as we wind up this episode of The Straight Line. So, Doug, I'm going to begin with a red light, and our old buddy, four-time NHRA champion Gary Scelzi. Now, they just had the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and Gary was there, and his son, Dominic, who's a well-known sprint car racer, happened to have the video going on the phone and caught Gary attempting to kick a field goal, a 15-yard field goal. The first one went wide left and very low. It just was like one of those just snake killers, just skimming right across the grass, and not very good.
Well, the only thing you can say about Selsey is he's never embarrassed to make fun of himself. He used to do cartwheels. He'd wear a little pink tutu.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good guy, and he's a funny guy. And I always liked when somebody's able to poke fun at themselves. Like I can poke fun at myself. Gary, obviously, he can do that. I just think it's good. And his son Dominic is Gary's really proud of both of his boys, and they're doing a great job in the sprint car. So I'm. To see Selsey out there even trying to kick a field goal and embarrassing himself, I got to give him a little bit of kudos. But I guess red light. He didn't. We're not going to be recruiting him for NFL team anytime soon.
No, not anytime soon. But he did make the second attempt. We'll give Selsey credit on that.
This is the producer Daryl.
Tom and Gio did a great job.
This is the producer Daryl, and I found the most interesting thing about the kick was a straight-on kicker. We haven't seen a straight-on kicker since, Mark Mosley in the mid-'80s.
Wow, Mark Mosley. Daryl, you went deep for that one. Yeah. Well, anyway, Selsey did get it through the uprights on the second attempt, so way to go there, champ. Okay, so now let's go with a little bit of green light, and I'm kind of excited about this. We talked about how we were going to bring up slot car racing. Well, Force just announced that he is teaming up with an organization called, let me get it here, Round 2, and of course the folks at Auto World. You might remember them if you collected slot cars back in the day like I did. Auto World, really well known for their slot cars. John's going to do a series of die-cast cars and then a drag racing slot car set. So I'm never going to be able to beat you on the quarter mile, Doug Herbert, but I think in slot car racing I might stand a shot.
Well, I think we're going to have to get one of those and set it up in the straight line studio.
Yeah,
that is cool. I just think that having somebody come into the sport and making a commitment like that. I mean, look what Hot Wheels did with the Snake and Mongoose. I had when I was a kid. I mean, every kid in my era had a Snake Mongoose Hot Wheels drag racing set.
Yep.
So I think that's great to have Force bring somebody into the sport that is bringing a new product like that, something that can get into kids. And I think that's part of the reason for success at the NHRA races now is, they let the kids in free. They're really promoting family stuff and bringing your kid out to the drag strip and watching the drag races and building that fan base when they're young. So kudos to Forrest and his team and the slot car company for making it happen.
Yeah. And of course, like Traxxas had the Force funny cars that you could run, the remote control cars, but the slot car thing, that's going to be great. We'll make sure, and we want to let the folks at Round 2 and Auto World know, we will post up our address here at the end of the show so you know exactly where to send the set, right? Of course.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, this was announced too. This is our final little green light thing. As if we didn't know this was coming, Las Vegas is going to do the 4-wide again here in April.
Yeah, Las Vegas 4-wide, and there's actually, I know of a secret announcement. Matt Smith kind of alluded to that with Denso, so hopefully we'll be able to bring an announcement up pretty soon. We've got some potentially really big news coming up that will happen at Vegas at the 4-wide and then continue on in Charlotte at the 4-wide. The thing is, all of the East Coast people now for the last several years have had that 4-wide race at Charlotte at the ZMAX race. But now the West Coast people can go check out the 4-wide. And I get it. Some people love it. Some people don't like it. But if you haven't seen it, you got to see it because it is definitely something to see.
Dude, we have our own drag racing show here. You can break the news right now.
Well, I haven't been authorized to release it, and we haven't got the ink. The ink is not dried on the line, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a really good announcement.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, go to NHRA.com, click on the red ticket tab in the top right corner, get your tickets, go to Vegas, watch the 4-wide and whatever announcement Herbert's going to have when they get there. So
here's an announcement I can make.
Okay.
I will be at the Vegas 4-wide race. So I'll be there at the race, and I'll have hero cards with me. Any fan come by, I'll be happy to talk to you, take a picture with you, sign an autograph for you, whatever.
All right. Well, when you get that plane fixed and you get it up in the air, make sure you come by and pick me up, and I'll fly out to Vegas with you. How's that?
Well, well, maybe I can get the guys, the rich guys that I fly the plane for, to fly it out there, because I don't fly my own plane around anymore. I work for a little charity, and we don't have the money to do that anymore. But maybe I can talk these guys into flying out there. You never know.
All right. Did you have fun today while you're sitting there on the phone?
Well, yeah, I had a ton of fun. I mean, I get to get on the phone with Ralph Sheen and MRN and talk about drag racing. What's more fun than that? Talking to Ed the Ace and Matt Smith. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that.
Well, good. Hopefully it passed some of the time you got to be on the ground while you're waiting for that thing to get fixed, so you can get back up in the air and get back into your chair here next week. All right?
That's it. You got it. Thanks, Ralph.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show here today. MRN's A Straight Line presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get those tickets to get to the races. For Doug Herbert, I'm Ralph Sheen. We want to thank all of our guests for being on the show today. Matt Smith and, of course, Ed the Ace McCulloch. Really looking forward to Unfinished Business coming up at Gainesville next week. We're going to finally have some racing to talk about here soon. These guys have been off for a little while, but now they're about ready to go back to racing, and we're really looking forward to it. So thanks for tuning in. We look forward to catching you on another episode of The Straight Line.